Looks good. Looks good. Sounds good. What about over here? See if anybody shows up. Something's happening. That's good. What about on the premium site? Public. It is public. Somebody here? Hi, Creepy Crawl. Good. How do you know? I didn't say anything. You lucky devil. Yeah, it looks like it's working. Okay, good. What's all this? Is YouTube working right? People bitch because they wanted time to get home from church, so I started later. Plus, I just now barely got ready. I'm full episode. Don't worry. There's a new season of Futurama I didn't even know about. I'll be watching that later. There's a new Rick and Morty tonight. The Rick and Mortys this season have been pretty good. I think they've been at least as good as season 5 and 6, and the one about, I don't want to give any spoilers, and they don't give their shows very good titles. The Jericho Trap is pretty good. I like that one a lot. And then the one last week, was it last week or the week before? The one with you know who. Not the one about the spaghetti. That one was okay. They have to do one of those a year. I think the one after that, right? The one last week's episode. The one where he finds you know who. I don't want to give any spoilers. What's the title of it? Unwart Ricken, I think is the title of it, yeah. But they're up to their old tricks about slamming this show. I'm going to do an episode about that real soon. I've been collecting little shots taken at the Stones Unturned podcast. A couple of them are pretty unmistakable. But speaking of which, well, there's nobody here. I'll just tell you. There's a definite to not Quick for Lucy, Justin Roiland in last week's episode. Like the first 2 minutes are the big Justin Roiland. It's hilarious. So I know they do it. I know they do it to people. Then it makes you wonder if the whole thing was staged. You know, if people don't show up, I'm just going to start recording and doing the episode, and there's somebody. I know there's a problem with YouTube alerts. That's nothing I can do anything about. You people need to re-sign up for your YouTube alerts. I think a lot of people are a little bit bored lately. So after the holidays, but I'm starting to telescope back out again, and then I'll be doing... Why am I showing you this? Slideshow. It's not slad, it's slide. From current slide. Nope. No. No. Slideshow from beginning? What about from beginning? Now from current slide. There we go. So how was the episode with Druser? Supposedly challenged me to a debate. How did that go? Hi, Channel. Channel's here today. Hi, Pyramid. Good. We got the A team here today. Today's episode would be marvelous. I am not going to spend the rest of my life on the Lindbergh case. If anything, the Lindbergh case is even more complicated than the Manson or Son of Sam. That's how much overkill they poured on this case. Looks like Trump may be cleared to run again. Just keep your fingers crossed. I'm not endorsing Donald Trump for president of the United States. I am, however, endorsing Donald Trump for candidate for president of the United States. Well, in all fairness, I think I did confess that I've been sitting on a mountain of information those guys knew nothing about. But you see how first Morph, then Druser, who you got left? Shit for brains. And by shit for brains, I mean Tom Voigt. Who's left? Voigt, why don't you just get it over with? I'll meet you on any podcast, anytime. Well, he's a pistol. It's either him or you want 4 more years of Biden? Is that what you want? I'm not going to get into politics today. I'm not getting into politics. It's Vivek Ramaswamy? No. I'm drawing a line. I don't care about the guy. That guy is not, he's not presidential timber. You see the videos are coming out showing how fake the whole January 6th thing was, right? It's all fake. You people realize it's all fake, right? It's all propaganda. You've watched the news benders, right? It's a fable, it's a satire, but it's mostly true. Is RFK Jr. dead? I've lost track of who's been assassinated. JFK Jr. was assassinated. Speaking of this string of phony plane crash, well, they were real plane crashes, these sabotaged small plane crashes that happened in the late 90s, early 2000s. There's a whole slew of those. That's like saying Paul McCartney and John Lennon should be in the same band together. Oh, yeah, independent. Kirsten Sinema is now an independent. I can't wait. I was really hoping Hillary would at least run again. My whole career was based on Hillary being president of the United States. I created a whole comic strip that would be ready when Hillary got elected president. It would have worked for Sarah Palin, but it was obviously about Hillary Clinton. Payne Stewart crashed. That's right. Never watched golf on TV. I saw that guy play the unluckiest round of golf I've ever seen happen. Like every shot he hit this shot that went like 5,000 yards, and it didn't hit a tree branch and bounce off. What happened was it hit this tree branch that like a bow, and then it let go, and it threw his ball back like 30, 40 yards into a divot. Like it was just the worst luck. Yeah, I'm waiting for her to declare. I want a rematch. I want her to lose to Donald Trump again. And I want her to be able to blame a Kennedy for it. Because if Trump doesn't run or can't run, haven't you ever noticed the Trumps, they never get assassinated? If Trump can't run or doesn't run, then I think RFK Jr. gets a lot of Trump votes. But RFK Jr. is not going to steal one vote away from Donald Trump. That's not going to happen. All he has to do is steal 3 votes away from Joe Biden and it's over, or from Hillary, and it's over. Trump is back in the White House. I'm not sticking up for the guy. I'm saying there's all of this propaganda about him that turns out not to be true. So was that part of the plan? We'll find out. I can't wait for the primaries. I will start doing extra episodes talking about politics. I would have felt worse about Ross's show with Druser if Druser hadn't shut his mouth off so much. And he's a Voight-tard. He's also kind of like a latecomer to that party. Relatively speaking. But I have all this stuff that those guys have never seen. I've never hinted around that I had it. It wouldn't matter. Like they go through and they think they can find this one little period, this one little comma they can catch me on. Oh, the description says he's 45, 50 years. I said, yeah, the phony description written down by Pelicetti. That was why. If Pelicetti got it right the first time, why did the sketch artist have to go back? And the horse shit about the marks on the neck, the scars on the neck of the suspect were where the guy was sharpening his pencil by disfiguring his own sketch. He didn't do it on another sheet of paper. He didn't do it at the edge of the paper. He did it on his own. Oh, hold on. That's what I mean by shit for brains. That's just being stupid on purpose rather than admit I am right about something. It's all me. They make it all about me. I could not be more flattered. They made me famous. Bill Black wrote that article about my haters. He didn't write it about me. He wrote it about my haters. That's how I got on TV. Okay, I'm going to start. I just don't care anymore. Here we go. I'm going to head on over there, start the episode. I thought about starting the episodes and letting them run on YouTube for a while and then cutting them off. Let me try that today since no one's here. At some point, I'm going to stop and cut off the free YouTube Facebook feeds. So let me try that. Well, Ross is basically... I couldn't believe that one of the Voight's crew would agree to go on Ross's show. I'm waiting for Voight. I was nice to Morph. I was nice to Druser. I won't be nice to Voight. And he knows it. The gloves will be off. The gloves will be off. So here we go. I'm just going to start the episode, and then later on I'm going to cut off the YouTube and the... Okay, so here we go. Start recording. Start screaming.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society.
You're in violation of secure communication procedures, Commodore.
So we just went ahead and fixed the glitch.
There is no America. There is no democracy.
Our fifth objective, a new world order.
There are no nations. There are no peoples. There are no Russians. There are no Arabs. There are no third worlds. There is no
Vast
West.
right-wing conspiracy.
What do you call it when the assassins accuse the assassin?
A new world order.
Thank you for plugging in to the Stones Unturned podcast.
Well, just a second there, Professor. We fixed the glitch.
I'm your host, Professor Thomas Henry Horan.
He reads everything.
Hello there, you lucky devils, you bountiful boosters, you bet your bippies the professor reads everything. Thank you for plugging in live to the Stones Unturned podcast. So, I'm going to tease a little more this week. You freeloaders on SpewTube and Fakebook will get a little bit of this episode. Then I cut off those feeds, and if you want to see the rest of the episode, you got to sign up. I realize it's Christmas. I don't care. after Christmas, I'll give a lot of you people a lot more reasons to want to subscribe. And hopefully, obviously, you'll have a little bit more money. Well, has your money been inflated as rapidly as Uncle Sucker's money has been inflated? Is that a little too loud? Is that better? Ever since I did that setup last week. Okay, here we go. What am I talking about? Bruno Richard Hauptmann was framed. I'm not saying he was innocent. There's a big difference between being innocent and being framed. You can be as guilty as Oswald. You can be as guilty as Berkowitz and still be framed. Okay? Hauptmann was framed for the death of little Lindy. So what? What does that tell us? And why didn't he say so? Well, he did say so. Why didn't he tell us the truth? Let's get into that. We're going to start with the money, and the money is going to get us to kind of zoom out from this case a little bit and see how it connects directly to future cases like, but not limited to, Manson, Zodiac, Patty Hearst, the zebra killings, Son of Sam, probably Dahmer, probably Bundy, and a lot of other cases I haven't had a chance to take a look at yet. I know you're getting a little bit sick of this case, but this is the episode where it starts to zoom out. But I just keep coming up with it. I'm not me. Well, I do. But I'm reading this book, The Dark Corners of the Lindbergh Case, by Michael Melsky. He's now working on volume 5. He did for Lindbergh what I did for Zodiac. Except in his books, he doesn't come to a conclusion. He doesn't have a theory. Okay? But he got access, and other people helped him got access to all the Lindbergh case files, Lindbergh baby kidnapping, the phony, blatantly phony. But it's so blatantly phony, you wonder if that's phony. Okay? Let me show you what I mean. What really fries Hauptmann is the ransom money that was found in his garage and the ladder that we've already seen wasn't used to kidnap anybody. The ladder was not used to commit a crime. So convicting Hauptmann of participating somehow in building the ladder doesn't convict him of a crime. It's not a crime to build a ladder. His landlord may have... Were any charges pressed? Because that was a rental house. Did his landlady press any charges? And she turns out to be more interesting than I thought. I didn't have time. Well, maybe I do. Christmas is coming. Maybe I'm just going to wallow in this case. But Hauptmann was framed. That doesn't mean he was innocent. He's clearly laundering not just the ransom money, but as we shall see in a minute, he's laundering a lot of money. So when I say Hauptmann was framed, I don't mean he was innocent, but there's no way he levitated in and out of that nursery window from or not from that rickety piece of crap. It's not even really a ladder. There's a very strong case to be made that Lindbergh himself built that ladder. It's a ladder when it's folded up, but when you extend it, it becomes more of a catwalk. You can lay this across muddy beaches so his wife doesn't have to walk in the mud because they had a seaplane. Speaking of City Island, okay, so there's a case to be made for that I'm not going to make today. Okay? Here's Bruno and Anna. Anna was 3 years older than Bruno. Do not forget that. That gets to be a trend through so many of these cases. So many of these cases, these men marrying older women. It's just, you notice it when it happens over and over and over. This is Bruno, this is Anna after their wedding, and this is his little fat baby. I've never seen so many fat babies in my life until I started working on this case. Doesn't this kid know there's a depression on? Look at the hams on this kid. That's his little boy. So you have this irony. You had Charles Manson's little boy, Pooh Bear. You have Bruno's little boy. And then, of course, you have the Colonel's little boy, who is presumably dead. As far as we know, the dead body they found was little Lindy. We'll never know that for sure because the body was cremated. Can't do DNA tests, can't do anything. Max, what's Max saying here? You haven't read this book? By far. Now, he doesn't rehash the case. He only looks at all of the leads that they had and dropped. Like, that reminds me. Let me give you an example. When MI5 and the Special Branch of Scotland Yard, when they were investigating Wallace Simpson, when she's dating future King Edward or King Edward, they're digging up all the dirt on her they can possibly find. They had never done this before. They had never spied on their own sovereign before. They had never spied on the royal family before. So they're digging up all the dirt they can on Wallace Simpson. They find out she has this lover in England. His name is... He supposedly owned a Ford automobile dealership, and he was an automotive engineer. Younger than Wallace. And she's apparently taking all the money and jewelry that she's getting from Edward, and she's hawking all of that and cashing in the money, and she's giving it to this guy, this younger guy, who turns out to be... It's very difficult to find out any information about this guy. Wallace Simpson is a very shadowy figure. So they find out that she is cheating on Edward before they're married, before he renounces the throne. So what do they do about it? Do they follow up on this lead? No, they let it go. So you know this guy is spooky. You know he's spooky, right? In the Lindbergh case, there are 10,000 leads that the cops just drop. And I'm kind of redigging into some of those. So when you read The Dark Corners, all you read is all the unanswered questions, the unfollowed up leads, and they turn out to be massive. I'm plagiarizing from this book relentlessly. Guy Trundle. Guy Trundle turns out to be a very mysterious person. And when they finally find this dirt that they have on Wallace Simpson, they think that they can use against her and drive a wedge between her and Edward. As soon as they find out that he's an engineer for Ford Motor Company, they drop it. They don't want nothing else to do. They never, according to the files that were recently declassified. There's something going on there. There's something going on there. And there's something going on in this case. There's so many things. Like I've shown you some of them. I've followed up on some of them that he didn't have a chance to follow up on, Michael Melsky. So this is what we're doing. I just wanted to point out we have another incredibly fat baby. These Germans and their fat babies. These Holsteins. Look at the hams on that kid. Okay, here we go. I want to come back to the ladder again. The ladder, there's this myth about this board. The very last piece of the ladder to be made and attached to the ladder, rail 16, which, you can't see that. This is rail 16, okay? This is the board in the attic where it was supposedly removed from, okay? But as you can see, whoever built the ladder supposedly cut another 1.5 inches off of here. And this has to be filled in by an artist's interpretation, which is very convincing. This is the most convincing thing I think I've ever seen. But it's fake. It's a reconstruction. And I only bring it up because this is what fries Hauptmann. This is that physical evidence. The FBI makes J. Edgar Hoover makes a big deal because this is his only finger he has poked into this case successfully. He doesn't really, nothing else that he comes up with is used at the trial. They tried to freeze him out of the case completely. But it's this Department of Agriculture federal employee, Arthur Kohler, who does all this work, seconded to the FBI. So Hoover can take credit for this. If Hauptmann is not guilty, based on the FBI's star witness, Arthur Kohler, then J. Edgar Hoover cannot take credit for catching the Lindbergh baby kidnapper. This sounds like a masterful con artist. Why does Hillary Clinton tell half the lies that she tells? Why does any politician tell half the lies they tell? They have to. They have to because somebody's got their tail in a ringer. Somebody's got Hillary's tit in a ringer, and she has to tell certain lies. The way J. Edgar Hoover had to pretend that Hauptmann was guilty, because otherwise he can't take credit for this. He has to participate in this frame, whether he wants to or not. And when I say frame, this is what I'm talking about. This is what convinced the jury, was the ladder. The problem with that is, you take this piece of the ladder, and you can compare it to just the next board over in the attic, and look how similar they are. It's no miracle breakthrough in the case that this piece of wood is similar to the rest of the board. Maybe it was sawed off of here and maybe it wasn't. Just because it fits this artist's reconstruction. Look, it looks exactly like, a clone stamp, a Photoshop clone stamp of the board next to it. And I know what you're thinking. Well, that's because the board next to it was another slice off the same tree. It's like a CAT scan, right? No. Do I have that slide? Because there's a knot here that's not in... Hold on a minute. Oh, crap. Don't worry about it. There's another knot over here in this board that's not in this board. They're not two slices from the same tree. I'm just saying how easy it was to find a board of knotty pine that looked exactly like this board, that looked like it would fit there. And you notice the rest of it's all gone. You notice all the rest of this is gone. This part of the knot is gone, and I just want to know, one more time, let me zoom in on this. What expert carpenter? You notice where they cut out a notch here. Let me get the laser pointer. Look up here. You see where somebody cut out a notch for the rungs of the ladder on a knot? You don't do that. No experienced carpenter would do this. And when he has all this room to cut this board to a certain length, this is the thing. He has to have the entire ladder already built in order to force this to happen. Because this is not a professionally made ladder he's going to sell. He's not mass producing these to spec. It's approximately 16, 18 inches between the rungs, which is a little far for ladder rungs, but it's the perfect distance for a catwalk. And whoever built this tried to shave as much weight off as they could, which is what Lindbergh was famous for, cutting the corners off of his maps to save weight in the cockpit. You notice he never gained weight, and you notice his wife was never allowed to gain weight. She never gained a pound through all them pregnancies. He's a pilot. He's obsessed with saving weight in the plane. You don't do this. You just put the notch in the other rail 15 or whatever. You just move it an inch away from that knot. That's all you have to do. Or this extra that he cut off here, he could have moved this. It's not a tenon, it's a mortise, right? Okay, Hauptmann was framed. I'm not saying he's innocent, but he's clearly framed. And the funny thing is, and I'll come back to this in a minute, other people knew he was being cartoonishly framed. Like they were making it obvious he was being framed. Okay, that's my point. He was blatantly framed. Now, Hauptmann was laundering money, for example. Now, this is from Dark Corners, but I can't just sit here and read you all 5 volumes. I wish I could. According to William Mulligan, it seems highly unlikely. Mulligan was the customer service rep at Steiner, Rouse & Company. Okay? The 1920s, you see the birth of retail stock trading. Any Joe Schmo can walk in off the street and open a brokerage account. Charles Schwab is famous for this now. I'm not getting paid by Charles Schwab, but I recommend charlesschwab.com. But I know something about it. I studied. One time I wanted to be a stockbroker. When I moved to Hollywood, I was actually studying to be a stockbroker in case I didn't make it in the movies. But then all that knowledge came in handy. But I made friends with a guy, a little bit older than I was, like an older brother, and a stockbroker, and he's kind of teaching me how it works. You don't have to be an expert on stocks. You got to be an expert salesman. You've seen the movie Wolf of Wall Street, right? That's what it takes to be a stockbroker. So, I know something about it. And retail investing really starts in the 20s. And mutual funds are invented so people could pool their money, because in those days, the commissions, the fees, the trading fees were pretty high. If you're not trading several $1,000s worth of stocks, the fees will eat up, So they invent the stock mutual funds and things like that are invented in the 20s. Well, those are really invented in the 30s. My point is this. Mulligan stated that Hauptmann, so he opens the account at Steiner, Rouse, and Stroke, actually, was the name of the company, August 17th, 1932. Came to the office daily and stayed there practically all day long during the time the accounts were opened, and only left in periods of minutes to go out to lunch. He's a full-time day trader. I didn't know this. I thought he's just buying stocks once, But apparently in 1930, he quits his job and starts investing full-time. And in 1932, he opens new accounts at Steiner, Rouse and Company, and he's there all day. He's a day trader. He did not buy a seat on the exchange. So he's kind of in this dawn of retail stock trading, where he opens an account and then he's a day trader, but he's not on the floor. He's in the brokerage house watching he's watching the ticker tape. I didn't know he was that deep into it. And as the prosecutors were able to prove at his trial, he didn't make enough money to live on doing that. He lost money. Gradually lost money. He didn't make money. So, yeah, Steiner, Rouse, and Stroke was only established in 1924. Here's what's something interesting. They have out-of-town offices in Birmingham, Mobile, and New Orleans. And that goes right back to what I've been saying about the Etappendienst. And the leader of the Etappendienst in America was a shipbuilder named Beale. Maximilian Valdemar Othmer. Yes, we'll come back to this probably next episode. Carl Beale, shipping magnate, dies at 75. New Orleans. His headquarters is in New Orleans. He's this German-American shipping magnate who was the main guy of the Etappendienst in the United States, and I think even in Mexico. He had shipyards all over the Gulf Coast. He had shipyards on the West Coast. There are other shipyard owners. They repair submarines or German ships and supply them. They're willing to supply them with spare parts and maybe make repairs. Okay, they support. This is a network of German Americans all across the United States, World War I and World War II, who are secretly supplying Nazi warships and submarines and repairing them and supplying spare parts. This is a big spy network you never heard of. It's called the Etappendienst. Okay? Headquarters, New Orleans. Well, for some strange reason, this brand new stock brokerage firm, they have offices, Broadway, Madison, 86th Street, Birmingham, Mobile, a lot of rich Southerners, and New Orleans. Speaking of Oswald, he was from New Orleans. Oh, there's this, and the spy network at Norfolk, Virginia. So you have John Hughes Curtis. He's president of the Norfolk German Club. They got to be a Etappendienst. And he shows up telling Lindbergh, these rum runners offered to bring me in on this kidnap attempt, and now I can act as go-between. A whole bunch of people claimed they were, okay? This is what I mean by money laundering. That would only account for $1,300. On January 10th, their significant financial activities, Hauptmann deposited $139 in coins into his Mount Vernon Trust savings account. $139 in coins. As he points out, large deposits of coins came from shopkeepers or slot machines and pinball machines. Pinball machines were like video poker back in those days. You hit a certain score, the house paid off cash across the bar. This was illegal. That's why pinball machines were outlawed for a long time. Pinball machines were illegal until the 60s or 70s. They came out with, they got rid of their reputation for being gambling machines. Okay? Speakeasies. He's laundering money for speakeasies. One in particular, also on January 10th, Hauptmann made a $1,400 deposit consisting of $1,287 in bills, $112 in checks, and 50 cents in silver at the Central Savings Bank. Why doesn't he deposit the $139 in coins in his main checking account? Why does he deposit? Where's he getting all these coins? Okay. 6 days later, January 16th, the day they left for Florida, Hauptmann deposited another $186 in coins to his Mount Vernon Trust account. If you're keeping track, that's $355 in coin. 186 plus 139. That's too many slides. What's 186 plus? Are you with me? Is that $355? 365? 186 plus 140 would be 326 minus $1 would be 325. $325. $325. That's a round number. And he's depositing. You see what I mean? Now, there's this theory that he's going around breaking $10 bills. He's going from shop to shop to shop to shop to shop to shop to shop, buying a pack of gum with a $10 gold certificate or a $20 gold certificate or a $5 gold certificate. This reminds me of David Berkowitz, who's driving around 18 hours a day in his POS Ford, where he's chucking, remember he set 1,500 fires, so he's chucking Molotov cocktails out the passenger window of his Ford. It's not a GT, just a Ford, right? Wasn't it just a Ford? A Ford POS. And the other hand, his left hand, he's playing 44 caliber Slug-a-Bug, right? Up and down the streets of every Lover's Lane in New York. He's terrorizing the cars. He's writing poison pen letters with his teeth, and he's driving the car with his feet while he's doing all of this, and he's doing this 18 hours a day. He's a one-man army. He's a one-man vandal army destroying the city of New York. All 5 boroughs. Okay, this is Hauptmann. Remember, I found an article somewhere. There was this great chewing gum drought in Upper West Side of New York. Between the Bronx River and the Harlem River, you couldn't buy a pack of gum for love or money, because they're always sold out. There's this German immigrant. He's just ein pack of chewing gum, bitte. Can you break a 20? Nobody notices this. Nobody notices there's one particular German immigrant carpenter who is spending hundreds of... How many $10 bills is this to rack up $325 in coins? At 95 cents per transaction in change. How many in 6 days is this? He's walking around, he got pockets. There's his pocket, he's just got pounds and pounds and pounds of coins in his pockets. You gonna stand there? You got a bucket of change. Can you break a 10 to buy this 5-cent pack of gum? He leaves this wheelbarrow full of change out on the sidewalk. Feet on the ground, people. He is laundering money for speakeasies. As a matter of fact, well, here's some guys. Harold Carlquist, maybe. This is a hunting trip. This is Bruno on a hunting trip with his buddies. These are the Lister brothers, rum runners, speakeasies. He's on a hunting trip. This is Bruno. This is not Anna. This is Jimmy Donahue's wife. I think Anna is holding the camera. This is a party. They had quite a life. You think of Bruno as this moody loner up in his attic, hand planing, building an ark in his attic. No, this is a young married couple who got a kid. They're like Seinfeld. They're 30-somethings. You're looking at a cross between the Manson family and Seinfeld. Okay, this is Bruno. That's Mrs. Donahue. This is Jimmy Donahue, who owned a speakeasy called the Black Sea Hotel in New Jersey. The Lister brothers, who are known rum runners and who are interested in buying restaurants and hotels, which are, listen, if you're not going to Applebee's and Olive Garden, you're going to a tax shelter / mafia front. Every Mexican restaurant in your town is probably a front for Mexican mafia. Every Italian restaurant in St. Louis, not necessarily fronts for the mafia, but I'm not going to name names, but there's a vegetable peddler, there's a laundry service, there's, as it was explained to me in several restaurants in St. Louis, I'm like, you go through, you're a super busy restaurant, if you thought about buying a washer and dryer and just doing the napkins and tablecloths here, and it's like, you don't do that in St. Louis. You subscribe to the laundry service in St. Louis. So these are his friends, like this nice group of young people here hanging out on the beach, hanging out in Topanga Canyon, California. They're all criminals. They're all criminals. This is Mrs. Donahue. This is the Lister brothers and Mr. and Mrs. Maybe that is Anna. That's Anna. I think that's Mrs. Donahue. And I think these are the Lister wives. This is gangster chic. This is, you're dressed to you're criminals, but you dress like white collar criminals, like stockbrokers who were rigging Wall Street. Like, it isn't just, I don't think it's just rum runners coming to Bruno. I think he gets a reputation, and I think these City Island people, these swells, the brokerage houses, I think they're using him too. Everybody, this is before FDR's New Deal regulations go into effect. This was when America was wide open land of the robber baron. And they're just doing what DuPont and Ford and all these other guys did in their minds. You can tell it's a party because 2 of the men took their suit jacket off. Remember Ralph Cramden and Ed Norton? When they took their girls to the bowling alley for a beer, they put on a jacket and a tie. This is a party, because you can tell it's a party because Bruno and Jimmy don't have their jackets on. This is a party, okay? And I think there are an awful lot of similarities between these two groups. I think there are an awful lot of similarities. There are more similarities than differences, and bear one more thing in mind. The people in the left-hand photograph are just about the right age to be the parents of the people on the right hand. That's how close in time this is. Their kids grow up to be the Manson family, I think, to a great extent. Here they are, beach of California. Did you know Bruno had a sister who lived in America, in Los Angeles? They go visiting. So here's Bruno when he's in the army. Looks like Justin Bieber. This is Carl Hinkle, very important friend of Bruno Hauptmann. Carl and Maria Hinkle, very important friends of the Hauptmanns. Hinkle bought a trying to remember. Here's Bruno. Here is Anita Lutzenberg. And this is their friend Hans Kloppenberg, who, as you can see, is gay. He didn't get married till he was in his 60s. He married his landlady. I'm not kidding. This is the 30s. They're all pretty fit. I mean, You don't see pictures of people from the 20s and 30s like this very often. Number one, this is probably a Carl Zeiss camera. Is this a Leica camera? Probably 35 millimeter camera. This is a 50 millimeter lens. This is somebody who knows how to take photographs. Now, Henkel, was his hobby, or he was supposedly a painter. And I think he takes a lot of these photographs, but somebody else is very artistic. This is a very good photograph taken for 1932. Once again, you're looking at the same people. Here's pictures of Manson family hanging out at the ranch, Spawn Ranch. People in their 20s, Gypsy's maybe 30, Charlie's in his 30s. These people are all in their late 20s, early 30s. This is Seinfeld. Where did they get the money in 1931 to go on a 3-month trip? What they did was, got rid of their house, they put all their furniture in storage, and went on this 3-month trip across country. Bruno, Anna, and Hans Kloppenberg. But there's another version of the story, it's Hans Mueller, but Hans Kloppenberg will, for years and years and years, will go on and on and on about how he went with them on this trip. So I think Anna's holding the camera in this one, because there's Kloppenberg's holding the camera a lot, but here's Kloppenberg. Here's, this is Kloppenberg here, swallowing an entire pickle. I'm not kidding. He's obviously gay. I mean, he's just obviously gay. This is Henkel again. This is Hauptmann. This is Gerda Henkel. So she's not holding the camera either. And this man's never been identified. This is 3 couples. Okay? Anna's holding the camera. Here's Bruno. Here are Mr. and Mrs. Here are Herr and Frau Henkel. And here's Hansi Kloppenbergi and his handsome friend. And here's Kloppenberg swallowing an entire cucumber. They're friends. They're friends. They're young friends. Business associates. Right? The Manson family is a crime family. This is not the Hauptmann crime family. I think this is the Henkel crime family. I think Henkel is the leader of this group. I think this is the Carl Henkel crime family. I'm not going to get into that much detail, but I'm just showing you these are the people he hangs out with. Look at the cars. This is the bottom of the Great Depression. Hauptmann quits. He works for a contractor, and he quits in 1930. He quits, and then he stops keeping meticulous. He used to do what John Rockefeller did and told people to do. First thing he did, John Rockefeller, he's a kid. He buys a notebook and a pencil to keep track of his income and expenses. In the very first entry, he had his very first notebook. He still kept it. He was 5 years old, 6 years old. He wrote down, it was 7 cents for the notebook and 5 cents for the pencil. And he kept that his whole entire life. When he's 100 years old and he's wandering around this 200-room mansion, turning off the lights to save money, that's how he started. So that's what Hauptmann does. Hauptmann had meticulous records, how much money he made, how much money his wife made, and how much they spent. Once again, his wife's a waitress. She gets nickels, dimes for tips. You don't wait. Why is it 2 separate deposits? When you cash in your big bucket of change, you don't take it in 2 trips. You take it in 1 trip. He's laundering money for Henkel and these other people to Speakeasy, the Black Sea Cafe or whatever it was, the Black Sea Hotel that they buy in the bottom of the Depression. Where do they get the money to buy this stuff? They're all fronting. They're fronting. Henkel is a front. Donahue is a front. The Listers are fronting for mobsters. They're buying bankrupt businesses as fronts for mobsters. Okay? This is what they're all doing, but they're not Italian. They're all German. All of Bruno's friends are German, except Isidor Fish. I think he's from Czechoslovakia or Hungary. But he lives in Germany. He's a German Jewish money changer. He's a money launderer. Here's Bruno here with the guitar. Okay? This is, once again, this reminds you of, okay, this is New Year's Eve, 1932. This is Anita Klutzenberg again. This is Hans Kloppenburg right here, looking his most Jewish, with his beard, Anita Klutzenberg. This is Isidor Fish, never married, Jewish, money changer. This is Goethe Henkel. This is Karl Henkel. Here's Bruno. Maria Mueller. We're going to hear about I think Hans Mueller's holding the camera because here's his wife, Maria Mueller. This is Louise and Otto Wollenberg. And this is Willy Haas, who's gone to this party stag, as has Hans Kloppenburg. Very modern. If you watch them in chronological order, if you watch the Laurel and Hardy's in chronological order, it's Seinfeld. There's so many jokes about dressing up in women's clothes and people having gay sex in phone booths. It's not funny. It's a hilarious show. It's a series. And even Stan Laurel's character, Stan, is a stereotypical British homosexual man, okay? The first talking episode of Laurel and Hardy is Ollie's wife sues him for divorce and names Stan as co-defendant, and the charge is alienation of affection. Okay, she's accusing her husband of having a gay affair with Stan. Now, the censorship comes in and they clean all that up. But Stan dressed up in drag every other episode. There's an episode where he's pretending to be Ollie's wife, maybe? Or girlfriend, and they go visit Ollie's rich auntie to try to sponge some money. And so for whatever reason, Stan's sleeping in his own room, and the rich old auntie comes sneaking in the room thinking it's Ollie's girlfriend and tries to climb in bed with her. Okay, this is Laurel and Hardy, was a very modern Seinfeld comedy. This looks like the cast of Seinfeld. This looks like the characters in Seinfeld. This isn't some moody loner muttering to himself as he builds a ladder out of toothpicks and toilet paper. I need one more board. I'll go up to the attic. That's not how you get your security deposit back. He just finished building an entire garage out of leftover lumber. And he had leftover lumber stacked in the garage. But he goes upstairs to the landlady's attic and cuts up a board. Okay, that's enough teaser. I am now going to shut off the freeloader live streams to YouTube and Facebook. Okay, click the links in the description of this video you've been watching. Get signed up. This episode, we follow the money, and that leads us to spying, money laundering, which leads us to Manson, which leads us to Son of Sam, which leads us to Zodiac, which leads us to all that stuff, okay? So, goodbye, freeloaders. Hello, boosters. I know it's Christmas. You'll be able to binge watch these. But just to let you know, so from now on, now that I zoom out, now it's we see the spy connections and money laundering connections that go along with all these other cases. So starting today and then running from then on. And then after Christmas, when people maybe have a little bit of money, start circling back around again. Manson, Son of Sam, how all of these cases tying together and why that's important. Okay? So goodbye, YouTube.